Triple-digit heat index and a chance for storms, making today a WRAL weather alert day. We're tracking what to expect this evening and increasing flooding and severe storm threats ahead tomorrow.
The Eno River came rushing through this school, carrying furniture all the way to the other side of the building. We'll show you the cleanup underway here in Hillsborough.
Then we got a wild viewer email that rats used in animal experiments can now be adopted as pets. Even more wild is that it's true and happening in RTP. We'll tell you all about it. Welcome. Thanks for being with us on this WRAL Weather Alert Day. And here is why. We have new severe thunderstorm warnings just popping up moments ago, including 6 counties, or at least parts of them. We appreciate you being with us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Dan Haggerty. Now, we've seen a few of these severe thunderstorm warnings this afternoon. You can see the storms here popping up on the radar here around Goldsboro, Fayetteville, that area. Let's toss over to Kat. So how long does this warning last, do we know? And what could people see in those areas in the next hour or so?
The warning lasts until 7:45, so 45 minutes to go, and the threat here is damaging wind gusts. Also the threat of localized flooding, and we'll get to that threat in a moment. It's really just this one cluster of storms that we're watching. Elsewhere, we've had a couple of spotty showers and storms, but this is the one to watch. Certainly, it's moving through Benson and Dunn right now. Heavy rain moving into Smithfield as we speak, along with quite a bit of thunder and lightning. There have been about 80 strikes of lightning in this storm just within the past 15 minutes, and the storm is drifting off to the east pretty slowly right along I-95. Because of this, a flood advisory was issued for Harnett County. You can see between 1 to 2 inches of rain already falling in that area. And I wanted to point out the Cape Fear River has some flood warnings due to the upstream flooding kind of making its way down the river, and this is likely to contribute to that in the coming days as well. So we're going to be watching out for the Cape Fear. Temperatures are still hot even with these storms around. Triple-digit heat indices continue for the Triangle and Goldsboro. The heat advisory does expire here in about an hour, though. Tomorrow, 2 significant threats to talk about. The flood watch in our western counties that were hit so hard on Sunday, and an increased threat for severe weather. I'll have a much closer look at tomorrow coming up.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Kat. Meantime, the town of Hillsborough is still under a boil water advisory right now. They have multiple parks that remain closed. That area has a lot of cleanup ahead after the flooding from Chantal. The school and art gallery at the historic Eno River Mill was badly damaged during all of this, and the artwork, unfortunately, was destroyed. All of this as school starts in just a few weeks. WRAL's Monica Casey has the story.
It's bad.
Treasures trashed. 15 artists in the Eno Arts Mill lost years of work.
Everything was just totally destroyed.
Director Katie Murray tells me a lot of their losses won't be covered by insurance.
But it does not cover flood. Nobody knew that, nobody added it on. I mean, this 150-year-old building has never experienced a flood like this in its history.
It's been really devastating.
The Eno Arts Mill has been a safe space for everyone, including the Teen Arts Collective led by Natalia Torres Del Valle.
Their immediate response is, how can we help? They're coming today with all the gear to help clean out the space because it means so much to them.
Around the corner, the Eno River also came roaring through the Expedition School, carrying furniture from here all the way down the building.
All the steps in the hall.
From pencils to textbooks to teacher technology, everything below the waterline was destroyed. EC Director Julie McCauley tells me teacher work days are becoming demolition and cleanup days instead.
We try to make it fun. We've been putting music on and dancing a little bit through the sweat.
Tammy Finch is rallying her crew to find solutions, including a temporary move to a drier building next door.
Our kids solve problems as part of what they do. So we've got a new big problem to solve.
Finch tells me right now the plan is to temporarily move first floor students into an empty part of the building next door. In Hillsborough, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
Thank you, Monica. And this area needs help. There are some links to help out the school if you'd like, and the Eno Arts Mill. It's on our website. You can also keep track of the storms as they approach our area with the new WRAL weather app. It is free. So let's do something now that the news so often does because simply we just can't help ourselves. Let's look ahead to the next election. Stay with me. I know the 2026 midterms are still 482 days away. But there were some interesting developments today. North Carolina Attorney General Jeff Jackson says he will not run for U.S. Senate. Now, that seat is the one that's opening up since Republican Senator Tom Tillis announced last week that he will not seek re-election. This was big news. Jackson, a Democrat, he's only been the AG for 6 months. It's a big position going to the Senate. And he says, look, I don't want to do it. I like this job. I'm going to stay there where people elected me. But that update may not be the most interesting part of the story. Here to gaze into the crystal ball with me here is WRAL state government reporter Will Doran. You talked to Jackson on the phone, and he told you who he thinks maybe should run for that Senate seat.
Yeah, this was an interesting development because Jackson is backing someone who's not even running right now. He wants former Governor Roy Cooper to get into the race. Cooper, as people know, has not yet made his announcement. He was term limited from being the governor, and his political future is a little bit unclear right now. People have been pushing for him, but he hasn't said if he's going to run. But Jackson Day telling me that he wants him to go ahead and jump into that race.
Why is this coming up? Why are we talking about this now? As we said, we're still 500 days away from an election.
Well, we are 500 days out, but this is an election that's going to take not just millions, but tens of millions of dollars to win on either side. And so whoever is going to be running needs to get started now, making contacts, raising money, putting together a good team. And there had been a lot of talk that if Cooper doesn't run, then maybe Jeff Jackson would be one of the preferred Democrats to jump into this race. He said to me that he wanted to make it clear that no matter what Cooper does, he is not going to run for that seat. He is content right now being the Attorney General, but hoping for Roy Cooper appearance on the Democratic side.
Two of the biggest names in North Carolina politics on the Democratic side. If Cooper doesn't end up running, we know Jackson says he's not going to run. What are the other names, the other possibilities out there?
Well, we do already have a Democrat in the race. That is former U.S. Congressman Wiley Nickel, also a former state senator from Wake County. He won a really, really competitive race in 2022, actually a race that on paper probably should have gone Republican. And so he's really leaning into that, saying, I've got this proven success of being able to flip a red seat. North Carolina hasn't sent a Democratic senator to D.C. since 2008. So he's hoping that he can be the one to flip that. Another current U.S. Congressman, Don Davis from northeastern North Carolina, is thinking about it. He's weighing his options, what he wants to do. So a lot of pieces still moving here on the Democratic side.
Well, you have 500 days to put them all together. So
that's right.
Keep up the good work. Will, thank you. You can find more of Will Doran's reporting on all of this and all things 2026 midterms and North Carolina politics in general over at the WRAL app or WRAL.com. You can just click on the NC Capital section. Thank you to Will. All right, let's shift gears now and talk about some of today's other big headlines. These are the 5 things you should know right now. The NTSB says an engine failure was what led to the plane crash that killed this family of 4 yesterday. The plane was coming from Florida, crashed in Lee County. Investigators say the pilot reported some engine issues, a loss of communication and navigation equipment. If you want to hear from the family of those victims, we have that story for you on WRAL.com. A terribly sad situation. A judge accepted a plea agreement today in federal court for a man accused of killing Wake County Deputy Ned Bird. That's Alder Maureen Sotelo. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy to escape. Maureen Sotelo had already pleaded guilty to illegal possession of a firearm. He's due back in court on September 26th for sentencing. Today, crews recovered the body of one of the 2 missing boaters on Jordan Lake. The boaters were last seen launching their canoe over 24 hours ago. Investigators did not share the name of the person found today. They are still searching for the other missing boater. A bank in Durham is back open after a suspicious package investigation. This was the Wells Fargo on West Main Street just after 11 this morning. Officers found a suspicious device. They actually found something there. They evacuated the bank because of it. Roads in the area got shut down. All of that has since reopened. At this time, we don't know what that device was. We'll keep asking. A new law signed today might save you a trip to the DMV for now. Anyone with a Class C driver's license that expired on July 1st won't have to renew that for another 2 years. Governor Josh Stein signed the extension into law today. This is only for driving. You still can't use the license to buy alcohol or board a plane. So you still probably want to get that renewed, but you can still drive if you don't have the time to do that. We have a pretty wild, in-depth mailbag for you tonight. We got an email about lab rats and zebrafish at RTP. Don't worry, I'll explain. Plus, some clarification on how the FAA is dealing with a shortage of air traffic controllers and the answer to the question, where is Senator Ted Budd? We're back after this. airplanes, no tax on tips, and the whereabouts of one of our North Carolina senators. We have a pretty amazing range in the mailbag today, and that means that a lot of you have some amazing range with your questions coming from home. So keep sending those emails, dan@WRAL.com. You are the engine that makes this segment go, so please tell me what you want to see on the news. Lots of people have been emailing me about another one of our 7 o'clock segments that's become a bit of a fan favorite, Murph's Turf, where we break down complicated sports stories with investigative sports journalist Brian Murphy. Jeff watched our latest edition of Murph's Turf and said, "Can we please take up a collection to get Murph a better TV?" I think I saw the same model in the Smithsonian. Jeff is referring to Murph's super sweet Panasonic TV VCR AM radio combo. What I can say is that Murph keeps it old school. I know that. I went down there to snoop around today because what's more interesting than his TV is what he is watching on it. Check out the stack of tapes. Watch when we zoom in again. The Simpsons Tape 3. Where do we have it? Well, it's a Simpsons tape. I guess that means that there is a Tape 1 and a Tape 2. Where are they? I'm not sure. Let's move on to an email I got about our segment last week on airplane safety. We talked about the 2 strange incidents out of RDU, a wing flap landing in someone's driveway and people sent to the hospital because of turbulence. Well, it turns out RDU is part of some of the most turbulent airplane routes in the country. If you missed that segment, you can find it on the WRAL YouTube page. Donald saw it and he sent me this. Dan, unfortunately, you are reporting the incorrect news. It is safe to fly and getting safer every decade. Now wait, Donald, did you watch the segment? Don't lie, because that sounds awfully familiar. Let's roll the tape. Flying has never been safer. MIT published a study last year saying commercial flights have gotten nearly twice as safe every decade since the 60s. All right. 1-0 me. But he did point out something important a little later in that email. He wrote the FAA controller salaries have not gotten a 30% increase in pay. In fact, the controllers have not gotten raises in years. And it is worth noting that Donald is a retired air traffic controller, so no doubt he knows quite a bit about this sort of thing and how much those controllers are getting paid. And he is right. According to the FAA, starting salaries were the ones that got the big increase from about $17 an hour to $22 an hour. That also applies to people training to be air traffic controllers. They also get health benefits plus food and housing allowances, that sort of thing. So yeah, salaries for all air traffic controllers, they didn't get a 30% pay raise across the board. We could have been a bit more specific about that one. So, okay, 1-1. Moving now to a not so specific question from a viewer named Sherry. She asks, where is Ted Budd? That was the subject line of her email. Then she said, where is Budd since he's been in Washington? What's he doing? So, Sherry, we don't have a Budd tracker, but we do have his website and his feeds on X and Facebook. Here's a post from April when Budd shook hands with Christina Cook, the NC grad turned astronaut. Here's a video posted a couple of weeks ago talking from the Senate floor about a drug trafficking investigation in Western North Carolina. But that's not really what Sherry was looking for, was it? Her email continues, why aren't you asking for his opinion on the BBB? That's the big, beautiful bill. And Sherry, he has posted about that as well. He wrote, I voted in favor of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. I hope my colleagues in the House quickly get this bill on President Trump's desk. And they did, and the president did sign it. So I suppose that's where Senator Budd has been. But let's stay on the big, beautiful bill for just one moment, because we got a question about one of the provisions tucked inside, the no tax on tips. Starting this year, people can get up to $25,000 tax exemption on money earned from tips. And that exemption goes away for anybody making more than $160,000. And Bob asked this, tell me how no tax on tips makes sense. Who makes $160,000 on tips? Well, we looked and we really couldn't find anyone online claiming to make that much money in tips alone. We did find a story from a couple of years ago in Texas. A waiter reported receiving an $18,000 tip. Sounds like a lot, but you have to consider that the tab was $33,000. $33K at a restaurant, tomahawk steaks, a few rounds of Macallan, gold-encrusted caviar for everyone. Jokes aside, that $160,000 limit isn't just for tips. It's a $160,000 limit on total income. It's kind of a way to prevent abuse. Imagine a CEO getting $5 million in bonus money and calling it a tip that's now tax-free. All right, last one, and this one's pretty wild. Apparently, the EPA is letting employees adopt animals that were used for testing. This is a real thing. A viewer named Janet pointed it out. She wrote, here's a story combining budget cuts and animal welfare here in the RTP area. The story appeared in the New York Times. So Janet is right. Here's that New York Times article with the headline, EPA employees are invited to adopt soon-to-be homeless lab rats. This is happening at the EPA facility in our area in Research Triangle Park. We found this flyer with an EPA RTP vivarium logo on it. It says rats and zebrafish are now available to adopt. And you might be thinking, what the heck is a zebrafish? This is a zebrafish. And now you're saying, Dan, zebra stripes, they go up and down, not side to side, not on their legs. You can Google it. The fish are used to study cancer, heart disease, diabetes, neurobiology, all in this little guy, this little 2-inch long fish. So why is the EPA adopting them out? Is this about budget cuts, like Janet said? Well, right now there's a proposal to cut the EPA's budget in half from $9 billion to $4 billion. But the agency says this animal adoption thing is not about money. They claim it's about reducing animal testing. Imagine that, PETA and Trump. They're apparently on the same page on this one. An EPA spokesperson sent us a statement that reads in part, the Trump EPA is working to get as many animals into loving homes as possible. As EPA works to get back on track reducing animal testing, the agency will continue adhering to the gold standard of science when conducting research to support its statutory responsibilities. That's pretty much all the details we have on that program, but it is pretty crazy, I think. Maybe you think it's crazy too. Is there anything else you want to know about it? I wouldn't mind digging back in. Send me an email, dan@WRAL.com. Let me know the other crazy stories you want us to talk about. Tell me what is on your mind, and we will go in depth. Kat?
All right, some good news to report here. Things change in 20 minutes, and what looked like a really robust storm 20 minutes ago with damaging wind gusts has really started to fizzle out as it moves into Johnston County. Because of that, the National Weather Service has canceled the severe thunderstorm warning there in Johnston County. So good news, we do not have any active warnings, just the flood advisory in Harnett County. However, we are starting to get in damage reports from Harnett County. Bun level, a report of a tree down on a house. Eric Miller just arrived on the scene there, and we'll have reports from him coming up later on this evening and tonight. We also had some reports of localized flooding on the roads. Eric was sending us pictures. We're watching these storms closely still, but it's definitely a positive sign. The lightning quickly faded with that storm, and it's starting to collapse on itself. That's the good news sometimes with these slow moving storms, is that they can kind of collapse and rain themselves out. Tomorrow, unfortunately, the severe weather threat is higher. It's a level 2 out of 5 severe weather risk tomorrow. This is due to the threat for damaging wind gusts, and that's west of Raleigh, where we've got the level 2 threat. From Raleigh points east, it is a level 1 threat. Now let's talk about the flood threat. We've got the severe weather threat and the flood threat. Tomorrow, a flood watch is in effect. And while it looks like the heaviest rain is going to affect our western counties, our eastern counties aren't included, but we went ahead and issued the WRAL weather alert day because the 5 counties hit hardest on Sunday are included in this flood watch. And for some of those counties, an inch of rain could still be a really big deal. Given the waterlogged soils, we're going to be watching for a band of some pretty heavy rain to set up potentially in our western counties tomorrow, somewhere between the Triad and the Triangle. Bit of a question mark on the exact axis of that heavy rain, but the flood risk is medium tomorrow. It's still medium on Thursday. I show this to you to show you we are considering a WRAL weather alert day for Thursday. We're going to get through tomorrow first, just kind of see where we stand in terms of where the heaviest rain has fallen, and we will reconsider Thursday's WRAL weather alert day later tomorrow evening and night. Forecast rainfall totals widespread 1 to 2 inches possible. We could see some locally higher totals closer to 3 inches, and you can see that on our latest high resolution run of Futurecast. And this is where the heaviest rain sets up here, and it does extend over into parts of Durham counties and Orange counties. We're going to have to watch this, though, because if that were to shift a little bit to the east, we could see some of those 3-inch rainfall totals get a bit closer to our western counties. Right now, that's not the most likely scenario, but we are concerned about that, and we want to keep you up to date and make sure you got your WRAL weather app notifications turned on for flooding. 5 o'clock tomorrow, we start to see storm coverage grow on the radar, and that'll stick around into tomorrow night through about midnight. Thursday, another decent chance of rain and storms leading to some localized flooding and a level 1 severe weather threat Thursday. After that, for the weekend, storms look a bit more scattered and summer-like. It gets hotter, though. High temperatures climb back into the mid-90s, so enjoy that 89 on Thursday, Dan.
All right, thank you, Kat. A group from Asheville is bringing supplies to help Chapel Hill. They know what it's like to be hit by a tropical storm, and now they're helping out too. It's your one last thing, right after the break. One last thing before we go tonight, a really cool story of people helping people who know what it's like to need help and offering it to others. A group called Beloved Asheville packed up a truck and they drove it out to Chapel Hill today to help the people hit by the flooding there over the weekend. They brought a whole bunch of supplies, really whatever people needed. And it wasn't just Chapel Hill. This same group drove supplies out to Kerrville, Texas, where flooding killed more than 100 people. They packed up a truck full of donations from the community and brought them all the way out to Texas. Beloved Asheville, of course, has also been helping people in their community after Helene. They know what this type of pain feels like. They've provided supplies. They've built new homes for people who lost everything. And in tragedy, you look for the helpers, right? You look for the people who are going out of their way to help others. Thanks for making WRAL your choice for local news. Our next newscast is at 10 o'clock on Fox 50 and back here on WRAL tonight at 11. Have a great night.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.